All right, guys, so today is lesson 151, and we're using page 273 and 274 in our books. It's the last day of just an overall review before your online test. You might want to have a piece of paper to write down the formulas when we get to reviewing those, just so you can have them to reference when you're solving problems tomorrow, and that way you can pause at those points, copy down the formulas, and you'll have it all in one place when you go to take your test tomorrow instead of flipping back and forth in your book. Just a suggestion, if you've got them already memorized and you can just use the ones that you've got stored up here, excellent. All right, so let's quickly review some of these measurements that we haven't done in a while, and we're just going to cycle through these, do some review problems that I have up on the board, touch base on a couple of things here, and then pretty much you're going to be doing the whole worksheet front and back, all right, to prepare for your test tomorrow. All right, so 12, 2000, 16, 1000, 100, 20, 10, 12, 366, 365, 52, 7, 24, 60, 60, 4, 8, 16. Remember a cup? That one's the 8 fluid ounces, and since there's 2 cups in a pint has to be 16. All right, so that one's 8. 3, 4, 2, 2, 1000, 100, 10, 1/1000th or 0.001, 1/100th, which is 0.01, or 1/10th, which is 0.1. Okay, good. 10, 100, 1000. All right, so each of those are taking that many meters to make those. 1000 millimeters inside just 1 meter. 100, 10, 1760, 5280, 36, hopefully you saw it said inches and didn't just see yard and jump to 3. There's your 3, and back to 12. Okay. All right, so here's the formulas, and I want to make sure that you have these down, either already memorized or put them on paper. I'm going to cycle through them, but you can always stop, write it, and then go to the next one at your own speed. All right, this is for area of a rectangle. Make sure when you write your formula, you're putting your A or your P or your C for circumference in your formula. It has to make the whole thing. And you can do it, of course, without the multiplication sign. All right, let's move a little more quickly. Okay, perimeter of a square, 4 times the sides. Perimeter of a rectangle, remember it's double the length plus double the width. We've got to double those first and then add it together, or we can add the two together and then double it. Either way, you're going to get perimeter. All right, area of a triangle is half times base times height, and again, we can do it without the multiplication signs. Parallelogram, base times height. You could also do the same for a rectangle because the length and the width are the base and the height. But for a parallelogram, we don't use the slant side, we use the height, all right, the distance between the two bases. Area of a circle, pi times radius squared. Okay, so remember that, area of a circle, use that. Circumference, we can write it 2 ways. We use this way, it's the simplest one, pi times diameter. You could also double the radius. I don't know why they put it that far apart, and then times pi, because we know, of course, that the diameter is double the radius, but it's easier usually to remember the simpler formula. Okay, area of a square is just side times side, and we're back to area of a rectangle. All right, so those are the formulas. You'll definitely want to use them, and like I said, you could write them down and use that as notes tomorrow when you're taking your test, so you have one place to reference those. Okay. All right, going over temperature, you should recognize that this is body temperature, right? Your average body temperature when you're talking about Celsius. is going to be 37 degrees. Get these in here. All right. Boiling point of water in Fahrenheit, Fahrenheit degrees. Okay. Normal body temperature in Fahrenheit. Freezing point of water in Celsius. The Celsius ones are usually more simple. Okay, that is the boiling point of water in the Celsius scale. Okay. The freezing point of water in Fahrenheit. Okay. And then we're back to this. Okay, so keep in mind. 2 other formulas you might want to copy down on your formula notes is how to change from Celsius to Fahrenheit. Okay. Remember, you're going to have to multiply 9/5 times that Celsius temperature. Then you're going to add 32 because Fahrenheit is always bigger. And order of operations, remember we multiply first and then add. All right, so that's when we're converting Celsius and we're trying to find what the Fahrenheit equals. Okay. Then you've got your formula when you're trying to find the Celsius temperature. Okay, and we're given the Fahrenheit. It's always going to be lower. Okay, so we take the Fahrenheit and we subtract 32 degrees because order of operations, that parentheses tells us, hey, we're going to change things up. We're going to subtract before we multiply. So subtract first, then you're going to multiply that answer by 5/9, and that will tell you what the Celsius temperature equals when we're given Fahrenheit. So these 2 formulas, okay, you're going to want to copy because you will be able to use those on your list for your notes. So let's review a couple problems up here on the board, and then I'll go over the worksheets with you, and you can get working. Okay. All right, the first thing we're going to review is subtracting compound measures. Once again, I think most of you are getting the hang of this by now. All right, so we obviously can't take 8 ounces from 6 ounces, so we're going to borrow a pound. And a pound, of course, is how many ounces? 16. But it's not just 16, it's 16 put together with this 6. So 22 ounces. All right, then we've got 22 ounces minus 8 gives us 14 ounces. And then 6 pounds minus 4 pounds, 2 pounds, 14 ounces. Okay. All right, pause here and solve this, and then restart the video when you're ready to check to see if your work and answer matches what it should be. All right, so you come back. Remember, we do this part last. We ignore the part that's attached to the variable. We deal with the other stuff first. There's nothing to simplify over here, so I'm simply going to start moving things away. From the side with the variable, we're going to take it away by doing the opposite. Okay, by adding 3, it takes away the minus 3. We're back at nothing. We keep it equal by doing it to both sides. So we have 5y equals 15. And hopefully you remember this is really multiplying. So to undo that, we're going to divide. And we're going to use that fraction bar to show that we're dividing. Remember I said from this point on in math, especially equations, we're going to use that fraction bar rather than the box or the symbol with the 2 dots. All right, by dividing, that takes care of this so that y is by itself. And we know how to simplify 15 over 5. 15 divided by 5 is 3. Again, we want to check ourselves. Instead of 5 times y is 3, minus 3 equals 12. 5 times 3 is 15. 15 minus 3 is 12. And it does equal 12. So we know we found the correct solution. But this is what you're going to write as your answer. A couple of you just wanted to put the number value for your answer. And I did take off 2/10 of a point, which can start adding up if you do all your equation answers that way. So when you are taking your online test, please put the variable, whether it's x or whether it's y, most of your problems will use x, put x equals 3. Again, setting up good habits for when you get into 7th grade, 8th grade, pre-algebra, 9th grade algebra 1, and those. Okay, your teachers are going to want you to answer equation ones, not just with a number, with an entire answer, y equals 3. Okay. All right, last one, going over again. how to find circumference and area. We've used the formulas, all right? We just went over them. So when I have to find circumference, I know it's pi times diameter. That's not what we're given. So our diameter is actually going to be 15 feet. We have to double this. So we're going to do 3.14 times 15. Do not use 7.5 if it's the radius when we're finding circumference. We always want to use diameter. All right, so I think several of you are starting to fix that, which I'm glad to see. All right, 5 times 4, 5 times 3, 0. 1 times 4, 1, 3. Okay. When we've got whole numbers, it's always very easy to use our decimal version, 3.14. And I have 2 decimal places in my problem, so I'm going to have 2 decimal places in my answer. And I cannot forget my measurement. Okay, 47.10. I know some of you will drop this off. 47.1 is acceptable. And online, whatever I type in as the answer, it gets really picky and wants exactly that. So if I put in the 0 and you don't, and it initially marks it wrong, don't worry. I always go back in and score them individually. You'll get full credit if you put the 0 or if you don't put the 0. Okay? I actually prefer it when the 0 is not there. It's just simplifying answers. But either way is correct. Now, for area, we know it's pi times the radius squared. Okay? Because we have a fraction, for me it's easiest to use the fraction version, especially because I'm having to multiply times itself and then multiply by 3.14. It's up to you. Okay? So radius squared, we can do 15 halves times 15 halves, or you could do 7.5 times 7.5. Okay? Either way, I'm not going to solve both of them, but this is the radius squared part. PEMDAS says parentheses, exponents, multiplying or dividing, then adding and subtracting. So we can't multiply and then square it. That PEMDAS, all right, stands for the exponent. You've got to take care of that first, whether you do it in fraction form or whether you do it in decimal form. All right, and if I am correct, I believe 15 times 15 is 225. I'm going to check myself because I don't want to give you the wrong answer. All right, it is. And 2 times 2 over 4, which I could simplify. All right, it won't go into 2. It will go into 22 5 times. Over, it will go in 6 times with 1 left over. I believe that's 56 1/4. All right, but we don't have to simplify yet because we can multiply by pi. All right, so get that out of there. We can multiply there and then simplify. Or if you're doing the decimal version, solving this and then multiplying that answer by 3.14. So it's up to you which you prefer. Just remember, please, here we go. If you are using the decimal version, because there's 2 decimal points in the problem, there's 2 decimal points in that answer. And then this is what you multiply by pi to get the area. And of course, you'll have square feet in your answer. And this little clue right here can remind you when you're doing that to have square units. So again, I'll only be able to put one answer in on the test, but if you use the fraction form and the answer is still correct, you will get full points. If I use the fraction form of the answer on the test, because it's just got to score it that way, but you do the decimal version, I'll go back in and give you credit as long as your answer is correct. All right, so you are going to do all the green letters because this is prep for your test. Section 1, you're just finding the answers, some compound measures, some converting. So if you'll notice like F and G, F you're converting to all cups, G you're converting to all hectograms. Okay, so watch out for those. And then you've got some fraction problems. Section 2, story problems. You are solving a compound measure. Okay, you've got some subtraction with time. You've got some temperature changes, and then you've got a question where you're finding the tip. Okay. Section 3, solve for y. You've got a proportion. You've also got some two-step equations. On the back, page 274, use those formulas that I just had you write down or review. You're finding 2 answers each for A, B, and C. First, find the perimeter for all 3, and then you're going to find the area for all 3. Okay. Section 5, practice again with that circumference and area that we just did here. First, find the radius or the diameter, and then you can find the circumference or area, and it does give you some place to work right there. Number 6, finding what percent it is, and we just did those in yesterday's video, so reviewing that. Number 7, finding the percentages, so here's where you're given the percentage, and or the percent, and finding the percentage it is of those numbers. And then section 8 is just a review of some Roman numerals. Okay, so as far as tomorrow, if you have questions and you can make the Zoom session, great. We can stay afterwards and answer any of the math questions that you have before you take your test on Thursday. So I hope you guys are having a really good day. The weather is nice outside, so hopefully you can get out and take a walk or ride a bike, do something nice with your family outside. And I will talk to you guys another time. Bye.